It is one of the most powerful forces shaping our world today. Wealth inequality is not just a statistic. Every year, the global economy produces trillions of dollars in new wealth. New companies are created. New technologies emerge. Stock markets rise. Real estate prices climb. But despite this massive growth, the distribution of wealth tells a very different story. Most of that new wealth flows toward the same place, the top. Today, the richest 10% of people control around 76% of global wealth. Meanwhile, the poorest 50% of humanity share less than 2%. Think about that for a moment. Half of the world's population, billions of people, share only a tiny fraction of the world's resources. At the same time, the number of millionaires and billionaires continues to rise every year. In fact, according to global financial reports, the world now has more billionaires than ever before in history. The question is not just how unequal the world is. The real question is, why does this gap keep growing? To understand this, we need to look at how wealth is distributed across different regions of the world. The United States is the richest economy in the world. Its total wealth exceeds $150 trillion. But this enormous wealth is far from evenly distributed. In America, the richest 1% of households own more than 32% of the country's wealth. Meanwhile, the bottom half of the population owns just around 2%. This gap did not appear overnight. Over the last 4 decades, something significant happened in the American economy. The value of financial assets, such as stocks, real estate, and business ownership, increased dramatically. Stock markets reached record highs. Technology companies created enormous fortunes. Real estate prices in major cities skyrocketed. The stock market alone has created trillions of dollars in new wealth. But here is the key detail. Most stocks are owned by the wealthiest households. In fact, the top 10% of Americans own the vast majority of corporate shares. This means that when markets rise, when companies grow, and when investments increase in value, the richest households benefit the most. Meanwhile, millions of people depend primarily on wages, and wages often grow much more slowly than asset prices. This creates a powerful cycle where wealth continues to accumulate at the top. Europe often appears more equal than the United States. Many European countries have strong welfare systems. Public health care, free education, and progressive taxation help reduce income inequality. But when we look at wealth, the story becomes more complex. Across Europe, the richest 10% control more than 60% of total wealth. Even in countries known for strong social policies, wealth is still concentrated among a relatively small group. Take Germany, for example. Germany is the largest economy in Europe. Yet, the richest 10% of households own nearly 2/3 of the country's wealth. Real estate ownership plays a major role in this. Property values in European cities have increased dramatically over the last decades. Families that already owned property benefited from this growth. Those who did not often struggled to enter the housing market. Inheritance also plays an important role. In many European countries, wealth is passed down from generation to generation. This creates long-term advantages for families that already possess assets. Even in societies with strong social safety nets, wealth continues to concentrate at the top. Asia has experienced one of the most dramatic economic transformations in modern history. Over the past 40 years, hundreds of millions of people have escaped extreme poverty. Countries such as China, India, South Korea, and many Southeast Asian nations have seen rapid industrial growth. Cities expanded, Manufacturing increased. Technology industries emerged. China alone lifted hundreds of millions of people out of poverty. But this rapid growth also created enormous wealth concentration. In China today, the richest 10% control roughly 2/3 of the country's wealth. In India, the top 1% owns more than 40% of total wealth. At the same time, hundreds of millions of people still face limited economic opportunities. Many workers remain in low-income sectors. Rural communities often struggle with slower economic development. Economic growth lifted millions, but it also created a new generation of billionaires. Asia now produces some of the fastest-growing fortunes in the world. The Arab world presents one of the most striking contrasts in global wealth. Some countries in the region possess enormous oil wealth. Sovereign wealth funds in the Gulf manage trillions of dollars in assets. Cities such as Dubai, Doha, and Riyadh showcase extraordinary luxury and rapid development. Skyscrapers rise from the desert. Luxury cars fill the streets. Global investment flows into the region. But across the broader Arab world, the economic picture is far more complex. Many countries face high unemployment. Young people often struggle to find stable economic opportunities. Income inequality remains a major challenge in several economies. In some places, a relatively small elite controls a large share of wealth, while large parts of the population face rising living costs and economic uncertainty. The contrast between extreme wealth and economic hardship can be dramatic. So why does wealth tend to concentrate in the hands of a small group? The answer lies in how modern economic systems actually work. First, assets create wealth. The richest individuals rarely rely solely on salaries. Instead, they own assets, businesses, stocks, real estate. These assets generate income and grow in value over time. Second, compounding. Money invested in assets grows exponentially. Returns generate additional returns. Over decades, this effect becomes extremely powerful. Third, access to knowledge. Understanding financial systems, investments, taxation, and economic opportunities provides a huge advantage. Financial education often determines how effectively individuals can grow their wealth. Fourth, technology and globalization. Modern economies reward innovation, scale, and ownership. Technology companies can reach billions of users. A single successful company can create enormous fortunes. Finally, generational wealth. Wealth is often transferred from one generation to the next. Families that already possess assets can provide better education, opportunities, and capital to their children. Over time, these advantages accumulate. The gap between rich and poor is not just about income. It is about ownership, knowledge, and opportunity. In today's global economy, the people who understand how money works are often the ones who benefit the most from the system. But understanding these forces can change everything. Because once you understand the rules of wealth, you can start to play the game differently. And that knowledge may be one of the most powerful tools anyone can have. If you want to understand the real rules of money and wealth, subscribe to Money Magnet Why.